Coming to paperback and e-readers in 2021, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business. The man who rules the world breaks on a brand new partner to help him take care of business in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Taking Care of Business in 2021 at online booksellers everywhere.
It seems like misinformation travels in the black community further than actual information. And it seems like black people will just run and take anything without doing any sort of research. Now, an example of this are the outrageous and absolutely ridiculous claims made by Dr. Dre's family, who allege he may have been poisoned by his ex-wife or somebody in their family as related to the divorce he's involved with because he was healthy before he suffered a brain aneurysm. Now, this whole conspiracy theory is absolutely ridiculous if you do your research on brain aneurysms or you talk to a brain aneurysm survivor like myself. Because as a brain aneurysm survivor, I can tell you that a brain aneurysm does not come from somebody being poisoned. No, a brain aneurysm can happen because people are born with pockets on the 5 arteries that go throughout the body, and these pockets fill with blood, and they can be on a person's body for years and not be a problem. And eventually what will happen is these pockets that form on these arteries eventually fill with blood, and eventually these pockets wind up bursting, and that's what causes a brain aneurysm. It's something that nobody really knows that they have, and a person can appear to be very healthy and not show any symptoms whatsoever as related to this condition. Most people who suffer brain aneurysms, it happens almost abruptly and out of nowhere. And it can, when it happens like that, it can lead to you either winding up in 3 situations. You can wind up dying almost instantly, or you can, if it's on the brain or the brain or close to the brain stem, it can cut off the flow of blood to the brain, and that can lead to a person winding up becoming either paralyzed, or they could wind up becoming a vegetable, or you could wind up like myself, a brain aneurysm survivor who winds up with full motor function and full cognitive ability. That's the third and most positive outcome as related to brain aneurysms. Unfortunately, Dr. Dre's family is so caught up in conspiracy theories that they're not going out here to do research as related to this condition. And because they're not out here doing research as related to this condition, they're participating in the same behaviors I ran into when I was a boy and I went back to school at 8 years old. Now, when I was 8 years old, I really could not process what had happened to me, and I could not really explain what happened to me, and people would go out here and make their own speculations, and they would spread misinformation. People would say that I was brain damaged because I was hit by a car. They would say that I was slow. They would say that I was retarded. Again, misinformation that wound up getting spread because people did not do their research, and I myself at 8 years old could not really explain it. But as I did my own research in my late 20s and early 30s, I began to understand what brain aneurysms were. And when I look at this condition, I want to share information because it really is just sad to see black people like the ones where I grew up with spreading misinformation about this condition that affects lots of people out here and further stigmatizing things and exaggerating about things and speculating about things they don't even know about. Because to sit there and come up with this ridiculous conspiracy theory talking about, oh, somebody may have poisoned Dr. Dre with rat poison and this led to a brain aneurysm. That's just absolutely ridiculous, because everybody who has survived a brain aneurysm and has done their research knows that this could happen to anyone at any time, and this brain aneurysm can be a silent killer if you don't go to a doctor and get specialized treatment, specialized things like an EKG to identify them, or a MRI, which can identify these pockets on the arteries before they wind up rupturing and bursting. This is something that your black people, they don't want to do research on, but as a survivor, I want to give people information that will help them come to understand, so that they don't go buying into ridiculous conspiracy theories like the one presented in The Sun, talking about, oh, he's being poisoned by his ex-wife. And this kind of misinformation, again, spreads all throughout the black community. And when it spreads throughout the black community, what it does is it creates a whole lot of stigmas as related to brain aneurysms and brain aneurysm survivors. And it creates a whole, again, host of misinformation like I experienced growing up as a boy. And this stigmatizes people, and it also stigmatizes brain aneurysm survivors and makes it where people don't see how we, even though we have gone through a great tragedy as related to this whole event happening, that we're still here, and thank God we're still here to help others. So they're sitting here talking about him being poisoned, again, speculating on conspiracy theories that make absolutely no logical sense. And it's just ridiculous, again, to sit there and say, oh, because he works out multiple times a week and goes to the doctor, that this couldn't happen. But a lot of doctors aren't going to be able to identify this without specialized equipment like an EKG or an MRI, where they can identify these pockets that are on the arteries on the body, because these pockets can form on the arteries of the body over time, and you can be perfectly healthy and have one of these aneurysms in your artery. Actor Kevin Sorbo had an aneurysm in his arm when he was filming Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, and thank God they got to it in time before it ruptured, and Kevin Sorbo had that surgery and was able to continue going on playing Hercules and then going on with his career. So this is a condition that people who are in healthy condition like Kevin Sorbo can have for years, and you will never know that it's there until it spontaneously happens. Or like in the case of Kevin Sorbo, you can find a doctor who can identify it with an EKG or an MRI. So when I listen to people speculating, they need to really go out here and understand that this can happen to anyone, because people say, oh, the cause is still unknown, but the cause will always be unknown, because again, these pockets can form on an artery at any given time. You can be going from 0 to 6 like I was and not have any problems with these pockets, and then all of a sudden it'll fill up when you're about 6.5, 7 years old, and it'll just rupture like it did in my case. And you can go on for years and be perfectly healthy, and this pocket will be building and forming, and then eventually it will wind up rupturing and bursting. So people will sit there and again say, oh, the cause is not known. The cause was never known, because again, you are born with these pockets that are forming, and these pockets again can rupture and burst at any time. And sadly, most black people, they love to run with this misinformation. They love to run with these conspiracy theories, but what they need to do is go out here and start doing research, because when you do your research and you understand the facts regarding something like a brain aneurysm, then you won't be running around spouting misinformation like I've seen people going on Facebook. Many popular YouTubers like Nicole's Views and Tariq Nasheed, they were running with this conspiracy theory. But we really need to start spreading information about brain aneurysms so people can understand what this is and how it affects people. And we really need really good information out here, because when I look at Dr. Dre's condition, it's a lot like my condition was when I was 7 years old in 1981. It's a condition where if he is cognitive and lucid right now, he has a great chance of survival. And he needs the support of people out here as related to dealing with this condition, because this is going to be a rough period for him, because he is going to have to deal with these social stigmas and all of this negative information and all of these conspiracy theories. All they do is further breathe more fire into conspiracy theories that really don't help people understand what happened to Dr. Dre, because what happened to Dr. Dre can happen to anyone, and the brain aneurysm is an extremely serious condition, and 1 out of 3 situations can happen. Again, you can either die instantly, or you can wind up in a vegetative state or partially paralyzed, or you can come out of it like I have, a survivor with full functionality with the exception of my left eye. You can come out of it fully functional, and we should thank God that Dr. Dre has come out of this and not sit here and buy into outrageous claims and ridiculous conspiracy theories. If you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my SJS Direct publications, which feature positive images of black men and women, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle, Vampires Stalk the Darkness of the Eternal Night. Get your copy of Eternal Night in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com.